So sorry for that technical difficulty here. Today, my name's Doug Yeager. I'm from CRM Dynamics. I'm a senior consultant here, and today I'm going to go through a fairly fast-paced training overview of reports in Microsoft CRM. And the backdrop of this, I will be using the version 9 of our system here to provide this training session. The areas we're going to cover today are using the built-in reports that are there, creating and updating them, adding some, visualizing some things with charting within those reports, modifying properties and settings which affect how they get displayed. And a little add-on I'm going to add on to this case is also another way of getting reports out is through Excel templates. That'll be at the end just to show another way of getting information out of the system. So it's we'll dive right into that right now. Let me pull up the screen here. Here we are. So as you're in your CRM system, and we have to get to reports. Many people have seen reports when you're within a specific entity. You go in, you can view your records from a view. There's usually a menu item which can say run a report. But to realize where all those reports are actually located, you can go into the sales area, and you can see a section here under tools called reports, and that's really the repository for all the reports that are going to be created. And I'm going to go now show you all of what we have here is all the out-of-the-box ones. You'll see quite a distribution of ones which were created, and they came in during your installation, and any of them can be run and opened up, but realize that some of them may not be applicable or may not tie into your data. And I'm just going to quickly run one just to show that sometimes some of the information is there, sometimes some of the information is not there. So you get some kind of strange results. Now, just to give you a backdrop, these reports here, in a lot of cases, can be built in, if they're fairly straightforward and simple, they can be made by users or by administrators in your system, or you have to get a developer in to create a SSRS report. The point of this session here is not to get into that level of development. That takes planning, takes a lot of extra resources to do that. What we're trying to show you is what power you have out of the box to go in and pull information out of the system, because you spent many years and days, long nights putting data into the system, and we want to get something out to leverage it, to summarize, and to prepare for presentations or for other people to utilize outside of your role. So what the key part of this, beside these ones here, you say, well, how do we create one? What I'll do is I'll just select new, and it's fairly straightforward, create new report. And what pops up is a wizard, and the wizard's really going to walk you through all you need to do. And as I go through this, I'll explain some limitations of this. But for the most part, it gives you some basic information that you need. So before I fill anything else on here, what I'm just going to go is click on the report wizard, because this will fill out a lot of that information for me later on. At this point, it's asking me, do I want to start a new report or start from an existing report? So if I already had one that I wanted to work from, I could look this up and actually pull up a specific one that we've already been working on. But I'm going to just basically start a new report here that I have and develop it this way. So I'm going to give this one just a title, quick title. So it's opportunities in focus of some sort. If I could spell it right, it would be much better. Opportunities, we'll see if that works better. So now what it's asking for, and of course as you understand, I'm working on opportunities and I want to do an opportunity report. So let's go take a look, and what it's asking me for is the opportunities entity. What's the primary records? And the limitation of reports out of CRM, it's not a case where we can go and add in case information related to accounts, related to activities. If you picture some SSRS report or Power BI reports, they can get pretty complicated and go across entities, and they're huge and they take a lot of planning. What this report built into the system here, what it is give you just more of a simple interface to get some simple information out. So it's really tied to one specific record type. And in my case, I'm going to focus things on opportunities. And I'll say later on a different way of doing this, which gets you the same result. But we're going to say primary record type is opportunities. Let's take a look and see what kind of activity my sales organization is in. I can also have this here called a related record type. At this point, what this is for, I'm going to pick one here just to help us see in the next screen. And I'll pick my competitors, let's say, and go next. And I'll just show you why it's important, because what it does is now, when we go next, it now lets us say, well, how do we want to filter this? What is our criteria for pulling this data out of the opportunities entity? And by doing it this way, by having the associated record, associated related entity or related source, I'm allowed to actually use that as a pre-filter. So in my case, I could say, only show me the opportunities where my competitors were, in this case, modified in the last 30 days. In this case, it's just to help me for the filter criteria. I'm going to go back. I'm going to basically take this off, and just to show you as you go forward, if I only say opportunities, move forward, it only shows me the filter that I want to see in opportunities. Now this is a very basic filter. You can get pretty complicated with the ands, the ors. I can say everything that starts with every opportunity that starts with the letter A, or any of the fields that are in your entities. You can add, you can group them. Get pretty complicated, but in this demo, I'll just keep it fairly simple to look at just those modified in the last 30 days. So as we follow along this wizard, the next thing it's going to ask is set up this layout fields. And this is basically going to build this sort of a simplified interface for building how you want to see reports come out of the system. Now I'm going to say, and the first thing I'm going to do is pick a grouping. So in this case, of my opportunities, I want to group them by let me get to the right one here. There's a pipeline phase. Very standard thing. It just says what if my data has pipeline phase, it's now going to group it by that. And maybe this is a point at this point in the conversation to bring up is that make sure you know your data. If you don't know your data, you're picking blindly, and you're going to go back and rework these reports many times, which maybe is your style. But after a while, you'll know what fields you're using, what information you're using out of your table, that you can actually build these fairly quickly with minimal rework. So I'm going to actually do pipeline phase, and since it's a date field, it's going to actually, I'm going to do my time interval by month, my sort order if need be, and width of the column on the report. So we can modify that. I'll leave this by default, and I'll get to the summary type shortly. Let's add another grouping in here, just to show. I'm going to now say by my, I think it's total. Get the right number. There's a estimated revenue here. And this is what I'm going to actually say. Actually, let's change this. Not estimated revenue. I want something more of a grouping here. Let's go by account. Let's go by account, because there are some opportunities which are have multiple opportunities. And now we're going to go and say, okay. So now I have two groupings. So if I want to change the order of these, I can now move this one up to say, let me group by account first, then by pipeline phase. It doesn't matter. I'm going to move this down. So I see by pipeline phase, then by account. And I can add one more grouping. So this allows me 3 levels of grouping. So now I'm going to add now some fields, because a grouping is not going to help me unless I have something written in there to show. So I'm going to first pick the topic, which is more or less the title of my opportunity. And this is pretty quick. I'll say, what's my account? And I think I'll add also, this is where I'll add my estimated close date in here. And just say, okay. And I'm running through this pretty quickly, but you'll see this on video some point. I'm sure you can slow this down. I have a estimated revenue in here. All right. So what this says is that I have basic information about my opportunity, and I'm going to actually leave the summary type unchanged right now, and I'll just show you why. So now I have a report which is more tabular. As I go through, you can now see I can change what shows in each of these fields, what's the top and bottom number. These things just take some playing around. Normally, I'm just going to show you basically how to get a report out of here. If I go next and I say, hey, how come I can't click this button? And nothing's more frustrating than not be able to click an option field. What it's saying is there, in order to use a chart type, I need to go back and add a summary type with a numeric column of a certain summary type. So let's go back in here. So my estimated revenue, I'm going to change my properties of that field. And I'm going to add a sum. Say OK. Let's try this one more time. So sure enough, now I'll go back one more time to show you. Just by changing this to a more of a summary level, it will give me a summary, but it'll also allow me now to use different chart types. I can add chart into this. Now I can show you a table, but I'm going to go right to more out of a chart. Visuals add a little more pizzazz to it. If you just want to have a table, you would just basically use a view and export that information to Excel, typically. But if you want to have a chart that you can print quickly, do this. Normally you would put on a chart. Now the difference between these two selections, one is really just showing a table with the chart all on the same page, which is just more of a static piece of information. But the better one, I would recommend, is using the chart that you can drill into. You can actually click on the chart and get into the data you want to see. And this makes more sense, I think, when I actually go and create one. And I'll go to my ever popular pie chart because it's usually the nicest way to convey some of this information. So you just select your type of chart. I go next. And now this tells me at this point, how do I want to present my chart? I'm going to say basically I'm using my, I'm going to start by using the pipeline phase combined with the estimated revenue. So here is the description. It's a summary, a sum of estimated revenue per pipeline phase. Fairly straightforward. I can show labels and legends if need be. So you have very minimal, you have some customizability or personalization to these reports, but not a lot. It's not meant to be a full-fledged reporting tool. I go to this next, I follow along in the wizard, and now I'm just saying it's now ready to save and allow me to, in a way, it's publish it. So now my report is now created. I just basically say finished. So as you can see, everything's really filled out for me now. I didn't actually have to type the report opportunities in focus. I now have, and I just really want to show you a quick run of the report just to make sure that this actually runs. See that I get a nice pie chart out of here. So as you can see, I now have a simple pie chart with my various pipeline stages with a percentage of total in it. Each shape here represents some data set that's in there. So let's go click on the proposed level. Let's say I want to dive into what's my proposed stage. I click on it once and it will bring up a tabular view of what the information was. So in my proposed stage, I've got these particular customers in here with their specific estimated close dates of their opportunities with a subtotal at the bottom. Very straightforward. I can go back and take a look at the chart, and let's say I want to look at this one itself. I can see more information. So really, you now have the ability to drill in. And I'll show you when we actually run these reports shortly to show you in the context of the entity where you're in. Because right now, this looks pretty, that's great. You can run it very much. Seems like a lot of clicks to get there. And everyone's asking why. Well, it's not very user-friendly at this point, to be honest with you. So I'm going to just close this off. Say save and close. And I'm going to say, let's go back to my data. And I'm going to go now into my opportunity entity, which is where people would be. If I'm looking at my view, whatever view I'm looking at, but I now want to run a specific report. And sure enough, I've made probably a bit of a mistake here. I have to go back into my reports and find my opportunity in focus report. Let me just select it here. So now it's a good opportunity to show you. I'm going to go into the edit feature. I'm going to go back into where I found the reports, edit this. And actually, I'm going to give it a category. This is what I did not do under sales reports. So this is probably a good opportunity. By mistake, I probably meant to do that on purpose. How about that? Sales reports. So this is where you want to see this in the sales reports section. So I'm going to now add this in, say okay. I've now actually categorized where this will be, and I'll show you briefly where we're going to find these categories. These can be augmented or changed to suit your organization. So now I've said it's a sales report. I'm going to save and close that. Just to be safe, I'm going to refresh my screen too, because sometimes that's the culprit. I'm going to go to opportunities. Let's cross our fingers. I run this report, and there we are. So under my reports, I now have this thing called opportunities in focus, which I chose to do, or just created for you. Now, when you go to run it, as you can see, I'm running in from a normal view. I want to say I want all applicable records. I want to see all the records in the current view. It's kind of up to you. I can now use this. All applicable records will basically run as per my edit filter criteria, which is overlaid over top of whatever records I pick. So I look at this now and I say, now this is a visual representation of my list that I had behind here in my opportunities. I can now drill into this. I'll go back into this one more time and just show you that now I have my tabular view. At this point, I'll say this is fairly quick now to get from your list of reports down to your list of opportunities down into your specific report output. Now the options I have here are really, I can save this to various formats, and this hasn't changed over the, I don't have it's just a list of reports, different outputs, I'll call it, the CSV, Acrobat, Excel. I'll just do a quick one to show you. It's fairly fast and straightforward. Now I have a PDF quickly downloaded, which now has the information that I want to see, which is fairly straightforward. Now I can use that, send it to someone if they're asking for that information. What I will now go back and show is back here, back to the report output as well. I can just print directly from here as well. If I want to go print, it will allow me to print and pick a default page and orientation. Very basic controls, but allows you to get output from this. You can send to Excel and Word, etc. So this also gives me the ability now to edit my filter criteria. If I looked at this and said, you know what, let me look at the last one day or something, I can now add in specific criteria. I can add in another criteria of saying, let me look at the account, an account which begins with, I think S is what I think I had some in there like that. If I run my report, it'll probably come back with very few, let's say. So I have just a total of these records. Let's go click into one. I'll show that, yeah, sure, it's Sunshade Company is the only one that popped up. So now you're able to dynamically use this report in many ways. So you don't want to actually constrain yourself too much on your filter right away if you really want to have wide open, which then narrow it down through successive uses. So this report can place many reports if it's very general. Okay, I will close this off here. Now I'm going to now show when we go off from from these views. I'm just going to show you here. So these are the list of views, and some people will say, well, I can't see this view when you publish it. This is now I'm going to show you. There's two ways of publishing. I use the word publish very loosely here. You're not really publishing reports, but let me go back to my reports view and just explain that part of it. I'm going to go back to my report, which I said a opportunity in focus, which is one I created. I'm going to edit this and go back to this familiar screen where we could have run the report wizard. If you look at the administrative tab, and we see there's two selections here, viewable in the organization or individual. If I want other people to see this, if I have the ability to share it this way and publish it this way, I would just say, save it as an organization view. And so you may need some privileges for that, but hopefully if you're creating these reports for a group of people, you would have that type of capability. Just going to save that. Now you would say also, now I've created this report and I want to make it, I want to modify it. It's simply a matter of going into the report, editing like I just did, hit the report wizard and walk through. And what you see now is do you want to start from this existing report, Do you want to overwrite it? If I want to create a new one, it's going to probably give me another, it's now going to say, well, let's give it a different name. And here now it's giving me a different name by time code. So you can make many versions of these reports. I'm going to go down through this, and I'm going to just, let's make this one could be my 60-day view, and go next. So I have the ability to save, create new ones from existing ones, and just basically go next, 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 next. Everything else will be defaulted to how it was done the first time, or modified as you wish. I'll wait for that to finish up. And now you can see in the background, I have two versions of this report. Now, what I've shown you is a very easy way now to create as many reports as you want. Unfortunately, I've now shown you how to create so many reports. At some point, you're going to say, how do I get rid of these reports? And a quick way to do that is really just hit your advanced find. And it's a very quick way to find this. Let's go see. If I hit advanced find, and I'm jumping around here. This part, maybe if it's too advanced for you, there's other courses on advanced find, just to let you know more that these actually are findable or locatable. If I look now at my reports, give me a second here to find it all. I've drawn a blank. I did this last night. I know where it is. I will come back to that. I think if I remember where it is, there's actually a entity called personal views. There it is, personal document templates. Found it. Let's just, now that I've selected this, I'm going to look in that entity. In essence, I'm looking for this. I just click on results. Now, as you can see, I go, well, I don't see the one I just created. However, this is a personal view. I'm looking at personal views. The other ones I saved were more of a save for an organization, and that can be taken care of in the reports themselves. Once we delete them, they delete. But you can never really delete personal views. If you find a lot of personal views that you have, you can have to go in here to delete them. So it's just more of a heads up that if you need to delete these views that you create personally, this is a way to do that. Now, what I've gone through, just more in summary, is to go back into this reports section. And I'm going to go open up doesn't matter which one I open here at this point. On my report wizard, I've gone through this. I've gone through the administrative side. We've talked about various fields of what is being categorized down here. This one particular is not actually. I'll fix this one up here and say this is associated with a sales report. I can now save and close. I can run the report as I see fit as well. We can now see all the information we need. We can get input and output. So that covers that side of the reporting. As you can see, it's very basic. It's not meant to replace more powerful tools. If you're more comfortable working in Excel, then you can export your data in Excel. But remember, in Excel, in a lot of cases, you're going to export the data. It's not going to be linked up. It's a snapshot in time, which has its value. What I'm now going to show you now is kind of an add-on to this reporting instructional video here, is to go through just a scenario where we want to export something into Excel and use it as a template. And if I go back into opportunities, and I'm not going to go too much into the detail of how I modified work in Excel. This is not an Excel webinar, but suffice to say, if I want to take something from my opportunities, and go back just so you see it all, when I click on this Excel template and I want to create something, that's how do I create this CRM Open Opportunities template or a pipeline management template? This particular one is actually out of the box. Let's just, I'm going to click on this pipeline management, and I'll explain why. I'm going to say download in pipeline management. What download does is bring that data into an Excel spreadsheet. And now I see all my data Down below, I see all these pre-made charts, and you say, well, did Microsoft do that? In this particular case, Microsoft or someone did that and uploaded that into the system. So that's the end goal of what I'm going to now show you, is how to create one of those quickly. I'm going to go to Excel template again. I'm going to go into create an Excel template, and it's now going to say I want to click and make an Excel template for my opportunities, and I'm going to now download the file. So I'm going to open up that file itself and show you there's the data that's been downloaded. And what I can do with that, I can then create that information. I can take this and turn this into basically into a sort of pivot table. I can create a pivot table or a pivot chart. I can create a different kind of, I can insert just a regular, any kind of chart. So I'm just going to quickly do one here. Create one here. So we created, of course, no data goes in. They never go in the first time. It just has to be defined. You can make a however you want the graphics. So I won't get into that detail of diagnosing that issue. But now that we have a file, we'll basically go save as. I'll save this somewhere, and I'll save it to my desktop, and allow me then to import this in. So I go back to my CRM system and into opportunities, and I look at this and say, and it's strange, you go into create Excel template, and you may say, well, I'm not creating, but I'm going to use this button here called upload. I'm going to upload this. It's a strange place to put this, but that's how they did it. I click on browse, allows me to find the particular report that I'm working on. It allows me then to import this in. And those are the steps to go through. What that means is that I have one here that I've actually imported the same way. I've got CRM open opportunities. And if I look at this, just open in Excel online, let's say. Clear that out of the way. And I say, great, so I've done the same thing. I've basically, as you see here, I've entered, all the data came in. Here's my data. It's all up to date with any changes that have been made. Now, if I go back and change data and I open this again, it'll reflect the new data. This is really almost a live viewer. I think of it as your Power Pivot or Power BI Lite. You can actually pretend you've got Power BI by having this. By pulling information in, you can now do your analytics on that. You can update all your information and have it populate any graphics that you need for a specific dashboard, let's say. So there's various ways to pull information in and into your CRM system and now get some information out. I'm going to go back to here. So I'm just going to go now review, make sure that I have covered the areas that we were talking about before we open this up to any questions. So right now we have we've talked about the built-in reports, which are usable and at least give you an idea what's possible. And some of them can be used, but it all depends on your data structure that you have set up. And if you've modified from out of the box, sometimes these reports won't work. We've showed how you can create and update existing CRM reports or update the new reports that you're going to make. We've showed some charting options within it, some of the properties and how they actually affect how it renders on the screen, and it took a little side detour into Excel templates. So I think at this point, I will probably open